Resuming Weird World Order broadcast. Dynaphones connected. Initiating broadcast signal in
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ladies, gentlemen, and knights of the Nerd World Order, this is the Nerd World Order broadcast. I am the man that you call Dukes, and to my right, it's all about the...
Booyah! What's up? It's your boy Joe, baby.
And to my other right, weighing in at 178 adamantium-filled pounds, Alfonso X-Man Flores.
I'm the best there is at what I do, and what I do is very nice.
Ooh.
X-Man, bringing back a classic line. Love it. Absolutely love it. So today, ladies, gentlemen, and knights of the Nerd World Order, we are going to be discussing a movie that came out last week, took in the $67 million domestically, and was the top movie, beating out Halloween Ends, a couple of movies I never heard of, and Smile. We're going to be discussing Black Adam, and I'm going to do my best not to call it Shazam. This movie I was super excited about, and I cannot wait to get into this spoiler-filled. Turn it off now, because the spoilers are coming. Joe just muted his mic, because he's getting revved up with all the spoilers. This will be a spoiler-filled review. So if you haven't watched it, that's on you, bro. Give you a week. But come back if you don't want to be spoiled and enjoy this episode of the Nerd World Order broadcast. I'm going to turn it over to the X-Man. X-Man, initial thoughts on Black Adam.
My initial thoughts, I was excited to see it. The Rock is an imposing figure. He's a comic book character, all in himself right there, right? So all he had to do is throw on some spandex. It didn't matter which one he was going to look the part, right? He is a superhero. I couldn't wait. I love Shazam. I was super stoked to see this, and hopefully one day those two can meet up.
I like that. Joe, you're a DC fan, but from what I remember, our conversations over the past few weeks, you were not too excited because DC's been in a slump. What did you think going into Shazam? Black Adam. Take a shot.
Yeah, boom.
Oh.
Shots. Everybody. No, I'm joking. So I wasn't too hyped up about it. It was very action filled, but that's what a Rock movie is all about. It's just nonstop action. Because DC has been coming pretty good because they had the Suicide Squad and then they had Peacemaker. So they put out some good stuff prior to Black Adam. So I still wasn't kind of hyped up because Phase 4, we keep talking about how much of a letdown it is. So if Marvel's letting you down, DC's been done let you down. So I wasn't too hyped up for this movie going into watching it.
I was I'll say pretty hesitant to go into the movie because I was hoping for the best, but right before the movie came out, all the critics and their job description says what they do. All the critics got together and said 40%. So I was like, oh man, see, I don't know. It looks pretty good, and I have faith in The Rock, but 40%. And I was watching the movie, I kept thinking to myself, okay, when's it going to reach that point where it just gets really bad and it jumps the shark? Because I'm enjoying this movie.
Yeah. And
I was like, oh, I think it's almost over. And I haven't reached that point where I'm like, oh, this is awful. And the movie was over, and I was like, dang, that was good. That's not 40%. That's I think if I were an audience member, I'd give it 90%, because that's what me and my fellow audience members gave it, 90%. I actually gave it 5 nerd flags.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great movie. I am looking forward to any incarnation of a sequel that they give us, whether it be versus your man, Henry Cavill, or whether it be versus the greatest superhero of all time. One time beating out Superman for sales in comic books. So DC had to sue the makers of Captain Marvel in order to have better sales than Captain Marvel, Fawcett Comics. I know, I ramble because I love Shazam. Anyway, yeah, I'm super excited for any form of sequel. Let me ask you guys, Joe talked about the action. He knew he was going to get action. What do you think overall, the action? How would you rate it compared to other superhero movies?
I mean, the action was nonstop. It was great. You know, there were things blowing up. You know, people being thrown. It was pretty hilarious. You know, for a sadistic person, and I guess I fell into that category that day.
X-Man, I'm gonna jump in and agree on one thing: is that the action, at least the first part, was sadistic. It's a good way to describe it. I described it as like Mortal Kombat kills. You know,
Yeah.
For that opening scene, it was like Black Adam was Raiden, and he was using his electricity powers, and he had the powers of the gods, and it was just really cool. So, you know, I really like the action in the opening. I like the fight scenes between Hawkman and Atom Smasher and Cyclone. I thought Cyclone was kind of she was a peripheral character in that I felt like she really didn't give much to the fighting or the melee. So I really didn't care much for her. And then Dr. Fate, it's like, wow, this dude, he had some pretty cool powers. Now, granted, as I was watching the fights, I was like, man, why are they going to let him do something that Doctor Strange did? Like, why? You could have done anything else. Why did you have to do that? But the action was pretty intense, and I loved it. Joe?
The action was pretty good. So, I mean, if you look at the previous DC movies, there's not that much action. I mean, there's a little bit of action, but it's not that much action. And so, like, see, let me paint a picture to the audience because they don't know what I'm looking at. I'm staring at a guy that has a pick in his hair, and he doesn't have a fro, and he refuses to grow the fro out, and he's just mocking me as I'm talking, and he's just staring at me with a pick looking straight at me. It's kind of very hard to concentrate. Now, if you like and subscribe to this video, hashtag free the fro. It's got to come back. Free the fro. Stop segregating the fro from coming out. Being racist towards the fro, bro. Let it go. And he begins to use it again. So what I like about this action is if you look at the other DC movies, there's some action, but not that much. Where this movie has nothing but action from the beginning to the end. And I feel Rock had looked at the previous DC movies and said, we got to do something different. And if you look at the newest Marvel movies that have been coming out, there's some action, but it isn't any action where you're like, man, that's a good fight scene. Oh, that's cool. It made the story go along as this movie did right here. Each fight scene was a purpose. And the special effects, like to Alan's point, man, it was really good. I mean, DC was they couldn't even do a fake mustache touch up. And, you know, The Rock floating in the air was believable. Hawkman was believable. Everything was there. And Cyclone, like, I get your point where, like, there's not so much. It seems like all she did was, like, there for, like, looks because it did look good. Like, she was flying through the air and stuff. But it also, what I like about this movie, it establishes new characters. So you can move forward to have the same characters that you introduced into other movies. Like, for instance, Cyclone, you can tell she's very smart. She's fitting the computer and stuff like that. And then, of course, you have like Adam. He's pretty much like an Ant-Man kind of like humor guy that gets big and stuff. So, I mean, and then Hawkman's kind of like the leader now. You know, so it's the dynamic between the two worked very well. And The Rock did very well introducing new characters to this movie. And you can tell he put a lot of thought in it. He's coming from Marvel. He's coming for Kevin Feige. That's what I think.
I have to agree with you 100% because I didn't feel like Atom Smasher or Cyclone contributed much to the movie,
Mhm.
but I found them both to be very interesting.
Right.
And I don't think I get that with a lot of other movies where I'm like, hey,
Mhm.
you know what? These are like kind of like when we talked about She-Hulk, right? You have these
Yeah.
peripheral characters and you'd be willing to see them in other stuff. I think if
Mhm.
you step back and you look at like, let's say the last Marvel movies that have come out, like Love and
Mhm.
Thunder or Multiverse of Madness, none of the peripheral characters really made you say, okay, I might want to see more of them. Even let's talk about America Chavez.
Mhm.
I don't want to see an America Chavez movie, and she was like one of the main characters, right?
Right.
So you're so right. So little contribution to the
Mhm.
fights,
Yeah.
but they left a really good impact. So I agree.
Right.
The Rock did take his time and put in the right amount of character development.
Because you need, with the Marvel nucleus, you have a very smart person that's running the stuff, right? And so with her, she's very intelligent and she can work the computer and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, you could tell she's going to be the one, like, if we do it this way, this is going to happen, and then you have Dr. Fate, which, to your point, like, even though they did use some of the stuff that Doctor Strange had did with the multiple versions of himself, I actually like, Dr. Fate's a lot better because they used more. It was more of like, and even Hawkman ended up using it, the same thing. So it's pretty cool in that sense. And then of course, like, Noah, who they played Adam, he's brand new. He messes up all the time. And so now, okay, I can't wait to see him the next time, because the next time he's got to show some growth.
Mhm.
Right. And so I like that whole dynamic with that. I'm kind of hyped up about that, actually.
So X-Men, Hawkman, we could say similar to Angel in the X-Men. What'd you think of Hawkman overall?
Oh, he looked really good, man. Impressive wingspan. That's a
Yeah.
quote from Toy Story. Right. Yeah, he looked good. He had the mace. I loved how it had the retractable spines on it, and so that worked out really well. Adam Smasher, he was a lot of fun. Yeah, you got to have a little bit of heart in that movie, because
Yeah.
there wasn't. I wouldn't say there was a character with a lot of heart other than the skateboarding kid, who was just like kind of annoying. But Adam Smasher was he was the one that kind of lightened the team up a little bit.
Yeah.
Cyclone, she looked great. Looked like Storm a little bit. With all the wind and everything. And with her, I think she was like the most contribution to color in the entire movie, because everything was darker, bleaker, and she just had all the greens and the pinks and the reds, and so that was pretty cool. You got to have a little bit of there.
Alfie,
Dr.
let me ask you a
Fate,
question.
yes.
Do you
Yes,
think
sir.
that they did that on purpose because of the dark tone that DC movies always have?
I think so. I think that was just something to just take that edge off just a little bit, and then Dr. Fate, man, he looked really good. Pierce Bronson, he did an amazing job, because Dr. Fate's definitely not a young man for the most part. But when he's got the helmet on, he's somebody else completely different. So that's no big deal. He looked great. Every time I saw him, I'm like, man, this is right out of the comic book. This is perfect. And he, the way he was, he had the Mirrorverse going on. He had the multiple personality disorder. Of course, I'm thinking X-Men. I'm like, oh man, if they could do this, they could do Multiple Man so good in the next, in the upcoming X-Men movie. I'm going to be stoked about that. It was a good movie. It was a lot of fun. Did you guys have any downfalls with the movie at all?
I did have one. And I felt like the movie, okay, two. The first one is there was a element, mineral, metal that could be used to channel magic, right? And it was used to create the crown. So they had to dig really hard to find this mineral. They had people digging in pits and everything like that. I understand with innovation, like, okay, now, hey, we can just take it out of the ground. But it just seemed like they went from having very little to just having it everywhere, right? Like it was used in the motorcycles or the hover cycles. It was used in the bombs and the military equipment. And who was making it? Like who? Okay, if you're in Kahar, I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, but if you're in Kahar, right, and these mercenaries are basically going to your land to steal everything, and I really love the undertones that they have with imperialism, colonialism, America's stance on like, hey, we're only going to go to your country to try to defend it when it benefits us, right? Like I love that idea, and I love that they pointed that out. But anyway,
Yeah.
how is it like, okay, who's digging this mineral if people are coming there to take your mineral and basically take over your country? But here was my problem with the mineral. Ramble on, get to your point, Dukes. Here's my thing. That mineral cut the Rock, right? Okay, so it cut the Rock. He got hurt. I'm sorry, he's Black Adam. He's not just the Rock. He's Black Adam. The mineral cut Black Adam, and then they like never came back to it. It was just like it was a way for them to have him pass out, and then he wakes up, and it keeps the story moving along. But it seemed like if someone knew that this mineral was able to cut Black Adam, then they would utilize that as a weapon against him. That was my first thought. Here's my second thought. When Tef Adam wakes up out of the water chamber, the sleep chamber, that dude was way too powerful. He was like fighting guys with guns. I swear he got shot sometimes. And he just kept running. I'm like, Tef Adam don't have no powers. How is he fighting all these people and like getting shot? So those are my two complaints. Joe's going to refute both of them because he loves Black Adam.
Well, the first rebuke, you ever hear a woman has so much adrenaline she lifts up a car to save her kid? Remember that?
Yeah, I remember hearing that in the
Well,
in the 80s.
Why can't that Black Adam be that way in that? First, and then, you know what I mean?
I'm taking it, bro. I like I said, I mean, I was watching, I was like, but I kept going. It didn't take.
You know why, bro? Because it did a smooth like Rock. Everybody knows Black Adam is the only one that could beat that guy, right? Yeah. So to hear the guy that said, hey, you can be the one that can make a difference because we can't beat him without you, you probably got hyped up. He said, well, maybe I can redeem myself with my son. Because that's his whole thing is, for him to be exactly how his son is, which he's not going to, but he's going to be the closest thing he can. But to your point, those minerals, what if that's DC version of vibranium? And that's what brings other people into his country, which Waller said, hey, make sure that's your prison. You're going to stay there. So if someone comes into his country and try to steal that stuff and then take it away, it almost gives them a reason to leave if they go get it back. If you wanted to go that route.
Yeah. Dude, I love it. So look at Joe just making sure we keep those 5 nerd flags alive. Thank you. Next, man, you know what? Anything? I know you're the positive one of the group. Was there anything that you looked at and said, "Man, this is ruining my positivity"?
I mean, I wouldn't say ruin it, but there was a couple things that I was like, I was watching with Steven, from the Cult Podcast, and we're like, what? I go, why does this feel like such a DC movie? It's not like it's bad. It's not that, but it has a DC feel. He goes, I know what you're talking about, like some of the CG or some of the stunts or something, but something about it, the darkness, it just felt DC. Like you could tell this was a DC movie, not a Marvel movie. And then after I went home, I was thinking about this because for some reason it was like in my head. And do you remember in Wonder Woman how like there was a bunch of action fights here and there, and then you don't get the big bad till the very end. Like most movies, you got a big bad that's kind of looming, right? But all of a sudden, boom, the big bad's formed. Right, and then you got to fight the big bad, take him down. Well, it was the exact same thing in Wonder Woman as it was in this, because it's like you didn't have the big bad; he was just fighting inner gang. It's like lackeys, cronies, whatever. But it was interesting, because it's a formula they've done a few times. Did they do it in Shazam as well?
Yeah, they kind of set the bad guy in the beginning. Remember, he was a kid,
right? But did he have any powers then?
No.
I don't think he got his full powers till the end.
So, I mean, it was just interesting to me. It wasn't like that was that bad a thing. I don't know if you guys ever read the 52 comics. They're, like when
heck yeah.
like the revamp. So, well, Black Adam had a really big part of those, right? Not the whole new 52 series, but there was a series called 52. And, in that was the first really understanding I had of Black Adam, because I've seen the one that looks like the Vulcan with the pointy ears way back in the day. But this one, he was very regal. He was very people are beneath me, they're ants. So I was a little bummed that I didn't see that with The Rock. The Rock was just like, I don't want to be dealing with this. I wish they would have played him a little bit more that way that I was familiar with. But of course, that's just in there to me wanting what I want, what I know. So.
Mm-hmm. But here's the thing, and this is what I gotta say about that. The reason why it's not a Marvel movie is because they're not doing corny ass jokes the whole movie. Let's take Thor. Let's take Thor, Love and Thunder, right? They had to introduce the baddie in the beginning. He didn't do anything till the end, anyways. So that's what Marvel does. Hey, let's say the big baddie in the beginning, and then don't do anything till the end. That's the Marvel format. DC doesn't do that because you wasted the whole point. If you take Thor, you introduce a dude that's going to be dope, and then at the end he's not dope. DC, Black Adam and The Rock. The Rock knows 10 years, but you don't have 10 years. Let's just be honest. 10 years, you don't have 10 years. So what this movie did, and this is what I saw in this movie. This is what I got out of that movie. One, the dude came out of the box and said, hey, remember DC, right? Two, let me introduce some new characters that you can't compare them to anybody. And I'm going to throw those out there. Then I'm going to bring back Superman, which everybody knows. To me, I think he's the best Superman. For me, no. He's a good Superman. They bring him back, and people were asking this guy to come back. And now he's back. Yeah. So he's done all the right things to get DC going because he knows he doesn't have that time. So if he wants to introduce a baddie towards the end of the movie, I'm okay with it because you spend the first part of the movie introducing new characters. You got to get to know Black Adam. You get to know Cyclone, Dr. Fate, and Adam Smasher. Brief moments that you have with the people, and you also get to see Waller. Now the question is, what does Waller have anything to do with the Justice Society when she was putting her own team together, the Suicide Squad? And does Hawkman know about that? So it's just like raising questions at the same time, creating something new.
Oh, totally. I'm not saying it's bad, but just so you know, I wasn't comparing it to Marvel. I'm just comparing it to movies in general. Like throughout time, you've always had the bad guy introduced and work his way up, build up simultaneously. Mm-hmm. But it's just like all of a sudden it's like, boom, with these movies, boom, there it is, a bad guy. And I'm like, it still works for me. I was just seeing the similarities between that and like Wonder Woman.
You also have to think like he's an anti-hero. He's not a hero. True. He's an anti-hero. So the first part of the movie, you got to establish he kills.
Heroes don't kill people.
Yeah. So he kills people. And so that's him. Like, you're not a hero if you kill people. And so you have to establish that and let people know that he's not a hero. He's an anti-hero. He's only going to look out for his people in his country. If it doesn't benefit his country, he's just like, whatever.
Which I like. It's one of those things where being nationalistic is the current state of the world. Everyone's in it for themselves. And Black Adam just personifies that. And I love it. Now, the thing about Amanda Waller that you mentioned, I'm calling this the Wallerverse or the Amanda Wallerverse because I feel like all the good movies that are coming out from the DCEU proper, and when I say proper, I mean the Matt Reeves Batman universe, that's going to be his own universe. The Joaquin Phoenix Joker universe, that's going to be a different universe. So we're talking about like the Batman with, what's his name?
Ben Affleck, Matt Reeves.
Ben Affleck. Thank you very much. So with Affleck and Cavill and everyone like that, that to me, that's going to be the DCEU proper. But here's my point. I feel like Amanda Waller is going to have a hand in that universe. She's going to have a little bit everywhere. When Joe was talking about Amanda Waller, I looked something up real fast. She's got different divisions. She's just not working with the Suicide Squad. She has a different organization that's called like Checkmate, right? Checkmate, chess pieces on the board. If you think about it, Amanda Waller is the chess master of the DCEU. She's got the Justice Society. She's got the Suicide Squad. She's got this Checkmate team that we might bring in later. She's got her fingers in everything, and she's dealing with Superman. So, in my opinion, I think what's going to develop is like Amanda Waller is going to be the one pulling strings behind a lot of this stuff. Yep. Sort of like, that's what I think.
That makes total sense.
What did she do, or what did how did Superman end up owing her one? Right? She's like, I can call it a favor, and I'm like, well, this is how they bring in Superman, but like, how does he owe her a favor? Right?
Hey, Alfie, I know you're a disguise. If you don't do this, I'll tell everyone you're Superman.
That's true. It's not that hard, huh?
Yeah, I mean, she's not going to use him to do some bad stuff, but something like a Black Adam, she'll be like, hey. But then again, she's pretty smooth too, so she probably says it's a favor, and it's probably not. If she just say, hey, yo, Superman, this guy's world level threat like you are, I need you to go over there. It benefits Earth. So if you say that to Superman, but to your point, Alan, I could see her being like a Nick Fury, because I remember we had talked about that. That's DC's universe of Nick Fury. The problem that I have with this whole DC revamp thing is you've already established, Matt Reeves' Batman. It was a good movie. You've already established the Joker, and that was a good movie. You can connect those because you've already established those characters. So if I was watching it, which Batman am I going to want to see? Am I going to see the Matt Reeves version Batman? I can't think of his name right now. Who played Batman?
Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, Robert Pattinson. Who are we going to get? Robert Pattinson? Which Matt Reeves says he wants to do his own universe separate from that. But you're just confusing the audience. Or do you have Ben Affleck, because he's coming back for Aquaman. He's also going to come back in Flashpoint. And then there's rumors of him signing a 3-picture deal again. So the reason why he left anyways was because he was talking to Matt Damon. I don't know if you guys saw that interview where he's talking to Matt Damon, and Matt Damon said Batman's killing him. So Matt Damon told him to leave the project. That's why he left. I have to wonder if it deals with Warner Brothers. Now that the Warner Brothers have a new management with Discovery, I wonder if that ignites him to do his original Batman movie with Deathstroke, with the script is already done.
That brings up an interesting point because we've talked a lot about Black Adam here, and I feel like Black Adam is the win that DC needed in order to get that next phase going. So one of the things that I want to talk about with you guys is just sort of the rankings of all the DC movies that have come out as far as first weekend, box office totals. Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice, which, to Alfonso's point, I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. Doomsday didn't appear until the end of the movie.
That's right.
Yeah, okay. He is correct.
Suicide Squad, the villain didn't actually appear because remember there was one villain, but then at the end of the movie, it was the sorceress who basically became the villain.
Right.
Into the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Man of Steel, next up, doesn't follow that, that overall formula. That brought in 116 million the first week. Wonder Woman, to Alfonso's point, same thing. They bring in the big bad at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Justice League, I don't know. Whether it be the original version or the Snyder version, did they bring in the villain at the end of the movie?
Well, if you're talking Darkseid into the movie.
Yeah, I think the other one was like in the beginning. Because they talked about it. Yeah, Steppenwolf.
Yeah, you're right.
Or Stonewolf.
Yeah, it is.
Whatever.
You are correct, sir.
But yeah, dude, Alfie's right in the beginning of the movie.
Let's see here. So that made 93 million the opening week. Aquaman opening week domestic. We're talking domestic. I know that's just Americans, and hey, we're American. We do what we want to do. 67 million, 67.8 million for Aquaman. I think that breaks Alfonso's formula there because I think the villain was all the way through the movie. Black Adam comes in at 67 million the opening week. And I'm going to say top 10, rounding it out, even though it's not really the top 10, but it's an awesome movie. Shazam made 53 million opening week. Now, crazy thing is Batman versus Superman had a budget of 263 million. Black Adam had a budget of 200 million. And the most expensive movie was Justice League with a budget of 300 million. So, you can see that You had $300 million, and in the first 5 seconds of the movie, you gave us that mustache.
Yeah. Oh my god, dude! That much money you couldn't make it disappear, huh? Dude.
Yeah.
People don't know. If you don't know, Alfie has some bomb ass Photoshop. Alfie could have fixed that mustache for real cheap for you guys, bro. You know what I mean? He would have cut you a deal, bro, and he would have made that mustache disappear.
Yeah. Alfonso could have hooked it up for all of us then, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Like I said, I was super excited about Black Adam. I think it's going to be a great transition for the DCEU. So let's move it along a little bit. There was a big announcement today. Alfonso was the first person to post it on our timeline. He said, "Look now,
Yes, sir.
this might be Cap, so don't quote me." But James Gunn is going to be one half, along with Peter Safran, of the lead as far as production and direction. They are the two people. They are the twin Kevin Feige's of Disney Studios, Dukes, DC Studios. So this is where they're going. Joe, you are the man who stood by DC when I made fun of him for years, right? And I wouldn't give him any props until Shazam come out. I'm gonna let you take this one first. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking we talked about this in episode 2 back in the day about James Gunn. We talked about that. And I remember the question that I had asked you was, with James Gunn in this, what do you think? And you had said it would be the right step for DC moving forward if they got James Gunn a part of everything. Right? And we called that a long time ago, like 3 years ago. And look at us now. So the everything is right for DC. The 10-year plan is looking kind of better. And also on the episode, we talked about loyalty, right? And we said when Marvel and Disney was like, yo, you're fired, this and that, then that's when he got that contract to do the Suicide Squads. We had talked about, like, where's the loyalty? And if DC would have a shot if they said, hey, you want to come and do some stuff with us? Because the loyalty is they went out and they said, we don't care what you did 15 years ago. People can change. Let's come make this money. And it's a good sign with that. It's a good sign with Rock being involved with everything. What I'm excited for is if you did bring back Superman, you bring back Batman, and Wonder Woman still, then you have Aquaman, right? And then if you bring back Cyborg, now you have Hawkman, now you have Atom Smasher, you have Cyclone, you have Dr. Fate. Bro, what Black Adam did was establish more characters that you can throw in the mix to a Justice League or a Justice Society. And with J.J. Abrams, you know this guy's not J.J. Abrams, sorry, James Gunn. He's a genius, right? When it comes to getting certain characters that no one cares about and making them something. And, you know, with him at the helm, approving everything with the producer who's produced, you know, like some good movies, bro, it's starting to look bright. But I know we're speaking too soon because once Black Panther drops, we'll say. But DC's looking bright.
You know, one thing that I really love is that lately Joe's been pointing out that you can like more than one thing. Like when we were all young nerds, it was like you can only like Star Trek or Star Wars, but you can't like both. You can't like both. Yeah. But now you can like both. So I'm like, hey, you know what? Black Panther may bring the MCU back to where it needs to be.
Right.
And DC can start to get some footing. One of the things you talked about, Joe, was loyalty. And when I was doing a little bit of research, I was like, who is this Peter Safran guy? I never heard of him. But then when I did the research, I realized he's been deep in the DCEU for quite some time. And he's already had his fingers in a lot of other stuff. He worked with James Gunn on a lot of James Gunn's movies, like already. Like you guys may not have seen the Belko Experiment. You probably should. It's like a really cool movie. It's kind of like Battle Royale in an office building. But him and James Gunn worked on that together. He also worked on Aquaman, Shazam. And when I say worked on, he was the producer. Shazam. He worked on The Suicide Squad with James Gunn. He worked on Peacemaker with James Gunn. He's worked on Aquaman 2. So when you talk about loyalty, this dude has already proved himself for DC, right?
Yeah.
The highest grossing DC movie ever with $1.1 billion worldwide was Aquaman.
Yes,
This dude's
sir.
proved himself, right?
Mhm.
And then he says, you know what? I'm going to bring in the dude who I've worked with before, who is probably one of the most creative men in Hollywood right now. And that's loyalty. You know,
Yeah.
DC was loyal to him. He's
Mhm.
loyal to James Gunn. And
Yeah.
that's why this is going to work.
Yeah. It's a good move.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's cool is right now you're going to have Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 coming out. That's all advertisement for James Gunn to take the helm over here at DC.
For sure.
Right?
For sure.
Oh man. And then hey, what about that other guy who was in charge of DC movies for a little bit? What happened? He just came in to destroy Batgirl and that was it? You know, take Michael Keaton away from us again? That's messed up.
Well, I think Discovery just said no. We're not doing that. If you listen to like The Rock's interviews, 2007 he's been wanting to do Black Adam, and WB wasn't like, nah, bro, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. Like he had to fight. How many years, bro? Like 17 years, just to get that movie out. No, it's not 17. Probably 15. I think. I don't know. I'm too tired to do math. Yeah, but like the time and the energy, he said no. They even offered him Shazam, bro, and he was like, "Bro, I'm not Shazam, I'm Black Adam." And I'm like, "Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are." Yeah. But yeah, so like I appreciate like if you listen to what The Rock said and they asked him, "Hey, are you coming from Marvel?" He just says, "I appreciate what Kevin Feige is and what the Marvel and what they've done, but why can't I be just as good, like a different type of apple?" That you don't have to have the same kind of apple as him. And I'm like, dude, the guy's thinking like he's such a DC fan. He wants to see DC. He wants to bring up DC, and I think that's a good guy to build around. And like I said, like he created so many characters just in this one movie. People are focusing on the story. They're like, oh, the stories, bro. Comic book stories. You know what I mean? Like neither good or they're bad. I mean, you take it for what it is, man. You get to see your superheroes or your villains fight. That's just what a superhero movie is. It's not Endgame, it's not Infinity War, but it's a good movie for what it was. And what it did was establish characters for us to build upon. And that's what I appreciate. And then with James Gunn, why I keep saying JJ Ember? Why is that in my head? You know what it is? Because you said Star Wars and Star Trek. That's why.
Good point, yeah.
And it's just, but yeah, with James Gunn aboard, I mean, the creativity that guy's going to have, because, even though, to your point, the Suicide Squad didn't make the top 10, it was still a good movie.
Oh, awesome.
A really good movie. And so it seems like the guy that's in charge, the main dude, is really doing his research on who he's going to get on his team. Because for you to try to make a talk about Marvel and Disney and Kevin Feige, you better be on top of your game. You can't just be like saying, hey, I got a 10-year plan and it's going to be whack.
That's factual, bro. And one of the things that I noticed when I was doing research, and this is just kind of a throwaway, is James Gunn's wife is in Peacemaker. She does work for Amanda Waller. I guess she had some scenes in Black Adam.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like, oh wow, that means something. But I'm sure if she was on the set,
means something.
Yeah. I'm sure that in some way James Gunn and The Rock had some sort of interaction, and that's going to continue.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't she down there in the underwater prison? Wasn't that her?
Maybe.
With the clipboard?
You mean that scene where Black Adam woke up and was suddenly bulletproof?
Yeah.
Yeah, that scene right there. Hey, but he is bulletproof. I don't care. He's good.
Yeah.
So today we have learned today that there are repercussions for taking $90 million and throwing it away. You lose your job and they give it to James Gunn, which they should have done in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder if that wasn't all intentional, just because a lot of times I worked for a corporation a while back where they wanted to get bought out by another company. Mm-hmm. So they made a guy a president of the company who had a degree, like a corporate degree in buyouts. So like he was there specifically so another company could buy him out. And I wonder if, even though it looks like this guy got dismissed, if his whole thing, he just had to find a way to make the DCEU profitable so that they could have this clean slate.
Yeah. I was say The Rock just came in, lay it to smack it down, and he was gone.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of disappointments, I didn't get one rock bottom in Black Adam, man. What's up with that?
I think that's good.
Yeah, that is good.
Yeah. He's
I mean,
distancing himself.
Yeah, it's too referential. You know, it would
Yeah.
kind of be, too much. So here's what's up next for DC. Now, I think this next movie, which is supposed to be coming out in March, is probably going to be the biggest movie of all time. Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I think that trailer just looks amazing.
Does it?
But it does.
I'm stoked for it, but why 3 old ladies? What's that about? Come on.
Yeah, bro.
Because it's two. It's 2 old ladies. And
The Golden Girls.
it's 2. And yeah, I don't know.
Is it 2?
think
I
they're
thought it
pretty
was
cool.
3. Is it 2 or 3?
It's-
I don't
It's
know.
Lucy
Man.
Liu.
Yes, Lucy Liu and the girl from Fast and the Furious.
Yeah. If there's a third one, I haven't seen her in the trailers. Alfonso got that extended cut trailer.
There's Betty White. There's Betty White, Ruth McCallaghan, B. Arthur.
Wait, is there 3? I don't even remember, bro.
I think there's 2. I think you're right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I think it's going to be cool. I'm really looking forward to this. Then I don't think this one is going to happen, but they're saying in June of 2023, they may release the Flash. I don't think that's going to happen.
I
Yeah.
think they're saying that they called in that guy to do reshoots too.
You mean Ezra Miller?
Mm-hmm. I read about that.
I didn't realize they got reshoots.
They bailed them out.
They did.
I hope
they did
not.
some reshoots. Here's the thing too, like because Ben Affleck's supposed to be in it, and so is Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. Might as well at this point call it Flashpoint Batman.
I don't know. Michael Keaton's not making a lot of headway over there in DC lately.
Yeah, maybe they're going to try to find a way to salvage the role that Keaton was going to play in Batgirl. You know, and maybe we can see.
I think it'd be cool if by the end of the movie, what I mean about them doing the reshoots is at the end of the movie when they reset it, it's not Ursula Miller. It's like a new Flash.
Right.
That would be cool.
That would be dope, right? It'd be
the world shift.
dope if it was the guy if it was Grant Gustin, the guy that plays the CW Flash, because everybody says he's like Flash. He's really good. But it would be dope if it just was like reset and then he's the new Flash and then you don't got to worry about Ursula Miller. And that's the perfect way to get him out. And then you could do it with your new Batman, whatever Batman you want.
Absolutely. So there's a possible multiverse aspect of this, which would be very cool. Now, I know Joe loves Blue Beetle. He used to hype up Blue Beetle. Joe's looking at me like, I don't like Blue Beetle. That's looking like August. Okay.
I do like Blue Beetle.
That's
it has that kid from Cobra Kai. He's dope, dude. I can't remember his name, but he's dope. I'm so bad at names.
Sholo.
He's dope though. Is it Sholo?
Sholo something or other.
Are you trying to say Cholo?
No, his name is Sholo.
That was rude, Alfonso. Just calling him Cholo like that.
Well, I'm a Cholo. We're
gonna have to edit that out.
But he's dope. That movie should be dope. I mean, Blue Beetle was dope, dude.
Yeah. And then
that's another thing,
Christmas.
And now you got Blue Beetle. You got another character like you're introducing. Like you could totally like you're setting that. Anyways, I'm kind of hyped up, but I don't know. They might let me down again. Anyways, what were you saying?
And here's the thing. It's kind of the Marvel formula, but Marvel was forced to do it. We've established the big three. I feel like people might be getting burned out on the big three. So what they're giving us instead, they're giving us all these new characters that people aren't really familiar with. And they don't have attachments to, they don't have expectations. You can build them up fresh. Marvel had to do that because they sold away the rights to all their characters. You know, so it's like Joe always says, nobody cared about Iron Man or the Avengers. It was X-Men all day, you know?
All day. X Factor.
Every day.
It was X-Men, X Factor, New Mutants all day.
Yes, absolutely.
And then throw in like some X-Force, but that was just a remix of the other 3 comics. But those are the 3 main for me. Yeah, those are the 3 main ones for me.
Yeah. And then Aquaman, Lost Kingdom is going to be December of 2023.
Yeah, you know I'm hyped up. I
So
love
that
Aquaman.
yes, I didn't really like Aquaman, and this is kind of a contradiction. I don't like the version of Aquaman that they have in DCEU because I feel like he's not Aquaman, any version of Aquaman in the comic books. He's definitely not the dude from the Super Friends. He's just like, hey, it's their own interpretation. So I have a hard time accepting that version, but I enjoyed the movie. They're going to have to cut out. I'm not even going to go there. It's just a dark path I don't want to go down.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
X-Man, what's your thoughts on all these movies coming out?
My thoughts are we got to watch Aquaman 2 to put more money in Johnny Depp's pocket.
Yes, I agree with that.
Bills have got to be paid.
Mhm.
No, but yeah, no, I'm super stoked for all these movies. Blue Beetle, I was seriously thinking that one was going to be on the cutting room floor right after Batgirl, and I was
Right.
super bummed about that
Right.
because
I agree.
that kid, yeah, he's good, and he's just,
Mhm.
it's a good story. It's a good story. I mean, I don't know if they're going to incorporate Ted Kord at all, the original Blue Beetle, but he didn't really have any powers. He was basically want to be Batman, almost Moon Knight,
Mhm.
And then Flash, I mean, if we ever get that movie, I'm sure there's a way. I mean, with the time they're taking, they might as well have just CG'd somebody else in there,
Mhm.
But I do want to
Yeah.
see that movie. I like the Flash. It's a shame that it's just been sullied in such a way. But I'm stoked for all
Mhm.
these. And I had a thought about Shazam too. We're gonna get
Shazam!
a different big bad at the end, anyways.
It's a good point. I
Yeah.
don't think that Shazam and Black Adam are going to cross paths for at least, I don't know, 5-6 years.
Yeah, maybe
Just because who else is as powerful as Superman?
Shazam.
I think you're wrong.
Black Adam. I mean, obviously same
Oh.
power set, but
Right.
given the fact that Superman is, susceptible to magic and Black Adam's powers are based on magic, I feel like he is going to be the primary challenge to Superman in the DCEU.
Unless they start working together.
Yeah. I think you're wrong.
Yeah, there's a comic book that I read which I absolutely love, Superman Shazam, where they did team up. So
Yeah. But I think you're wrong though. They're not going to do it in 5 years. They can't wait for 5 years. And this is why they can't wait for 5 years. To your point, you said DC has momentum, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have momentum, you don't take a break. You got to put your foot on the throttle and you got to make moves and you got to keep moving in that direction. Black Adam is not going to be the big baddie of DC. If the main guy has, I can't remember his name because I suck at names. If he has a 10-year plan, he's got to build up the 10-year plan. If he's trying to be like Marvel, you need to have the main villain. Like a Dark Side would be a good, like if they did it better than what Zack Snyder did. But the Black Adam is not going to be the main baddie. He's an anti-hero. So you could do Superman 2 and then have Black Adam in it. What if they did some research in Shazam and Black Adam's in it, or even Superman? And it could lead into something. It could lead into, so I think they got to do it maybe 2 years, 3 years, but I don't think they have 5 years because that's going to be half of what they said the 10-year plan is. And I don't think they're going to wait that long for half or 10 years to make a Black Adam against Superman because everybody wants to see that now. So let's just say if they did it after Shazam and you came up with a Superman movie, then you could do the trilogy of like they made an anime special of that too.
Yeah,
that you can watch on HBO Max.
Well, they've done it before in the books quite a bit. Where I mean, you've got Black Adam who is willing to kill, who is willing to put people's lives at risk, right? So Superman can't really compete with that because he's too busy worrying about everything else. So you need Superman and Shazam to take on Black Adam because neither one of them could do it alone because he doesn't really care about life as much as they do. So, classic comic book, there's a big misunderstanding. We got to duke it out for a little bit.
Yep.
Oh, you know what? Our bad. We got a bigger bad. Let's go take care of that. So hopefully we can get something like that
Yeah.
because I could see them starting off and they're just tearing everything up. Billy Batson's like, there's too much chaos going on over there. I'm gonna go help. He goes and helps. Next thing you know, then they're doing something else. But who knows what movie that would be? Would that be a Superman, Shazam, Black Adam movie? Who knows?
I've got an additional question for you, gentlemen, and Joe definitely propagated this question. Let's say DCEU Phase 2. Let's say that Phase 1 is done. Phase 1 ended with Black Adam, let's just say. Who is the big bad for Phase 2? The reason I ask that is because you have Black Adam, who's a badass powerhouse. You have Superman, and you also have Shazam. Who could possibly be such a high-level threat that all three of them would have to in some way interact in Phase 2 in order to fight that one character? Who's the big bad in DCEU Phase 2?
If you redo it right and recast it, Lex Luthor. If you do it right, because he could go back in and still the Ether. I don't know what you call it, Alan. I'm bad at names.
Oh, you mean Peter Safran?
No. Lex Luthor, like the minerals in Kakistan. I can't remember.
Unobtainium.
I don't know.
But anyways, he could steal that from Black Adam. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For his research, he can dabble with Amanda Waller, try to manipulate her, and of course you have the Superman thing, and you have the Batman thing. Like I think they dropped the ball on the Lex Luthor and who he was because he's such a badass that you have that main antagonist that you can use to set up the first part of like the 10-year span and have Lex Luthor be a part of all that with Amanda Waller. Because I think Amanda Waller would be fit better as like to your point, Alan, Nick Fury type of role. And then Lex Luthor can be the main antagonist. And then from there, you could go to Darkseid towards the end, whatever you want to do it. But Darkseid, you really need him in there because he's like basically Thanos. So you kind of want to see him done right. And you could do a lot more setting things up with him too.
Yeah.
X-Man.
So at first I was like, Amanda Waller. No, Lex Luthor. No, Amanda Waller. You know what? The two working together would probably be great. But since Joe already went that route, I'm going to go in another route. We're going to go with Lobo. The main
Not a bad idea.
Yeah, it'd be good to see Lobo.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be. For some reason, I'm thinking Mr. Mxyzptlk. Because he's more psychological. He's more mental and less of a physical threat. And, he can obviously jump around dimensions. So you could have him interact with, like the Matt Reeves Batman or the Joker, which isn't likely. But, even the old school Michael Keaton Batman. He could be jumping around in all these different multiverses, and they could do an Infinite Crisis if they wanted to, because Mxyzptlk could be everywhere. So I'm going out on a limb. That's what I'm saying, Mxyzptlk.
Yeah. Well, with James Gunn, you never know, because he's gonna.
So true.
He's gonna do the big bad thing. Like it's gonna be like a big bad villain that they all have to come against, and that's another thing. If you establish all these characters, they have to fight someone that has other characters they can fight as well, like like generals or anybody underneath the main villain. But with James Gunn, he's gonna come in, and he's gonna come in and be like, all right, this guy's gonna be the main dude. We're gonna do these stories, and it's gonna lead up to this main guy.
Yeah.
So with that, it was making me think Eclipso. Remember Eclipso with a little dark diamond? You put it in people's foreheads. Next thing you know, they're working for him. Yeah, there's that. There's what's the Bat Who Laughs? Is that what that is?
Batman Who Laughs.
Yeah,
that would be dope.
Yes,
and he's just a man, but still so much.
That would
more.
be dope. That would be dope.
Yeah, I would go with Alfonso's suggestion. Batman Who Laughs.
Yeah,
he's topical.
Yeah.
Now that Alfonso said that, I got to run out and buy every copy of the first appearance of Batman Who Laughs. That's going to pay for my son's college if he ever decides to go.
That's a good one, Alfie. I could see that. I would love that. That's a good one to throw out there.
I'm just going to say, gentlemen, that I've never really been a DCEU fan, but I'm excited about what's coming up with DCEU and the announcement of James Gunn today. Thank you, Alfonso, for being first on the scene to release that
Yes,
news. And
sir.
Joe, thanks for being 2 years ahead of everyone else, telling us this is what's going to happen. That's pretty dope. Joe said it first.
Hey,
so I'm excited, guys.
We
Alfonso.
We as a group said it first.
No, Joe's getting this one. I was probably saying DC sucks. James Gunn could make it better.
No, you actually were saying James could make it better, but that was like DC's lowest, man.
Wow. Yeah.
Lowest point.
Yeah, that's when we were recording podcasts in
in your car,
my wife's car.
Alfie, I don't know if you know, we had the mic hanging around the rear view mirror, and we're like testing, and we did it. We recorded
Nice.
Car. It was awesome. I think I saw how that picture. It was pretty dope.
Yeah, it was pretty dope.
Yeah.
X-Man, I'm going to turn it over to you for final thoughts on Shazam, Black Adam, the DCEU as a whole. What are your final thoughts on what we discussed today?
I'm just super stoked to see where this is going to go. I mean, right now, you're not disappointed with Black Adam at all. You know, with James Gunn at the helm, I know the other guy's there too, but he's just a producer. With James Gunn at the helm, man, I don't know if this guy's let me down yet. I mean, I guess research some of the stuff that he's done before, but I don't think he has. And for somebody who started off in Tromaville, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Tromaville and Toxic Avenger, like cheesy, schlocky stuff, and to be the god that he is now, I am super stoked.
Very nice.
Joe, you've been the supporter of the DCEU in their dark times and their good times. So what are your final thoughts to close us out?
So my final thoughts is this. Let me paint a picture. When was wrestling so good, right? It was when WCW was really competing with WWF, going back and forth. Not one was better than the other, depending on the ratings, but it was going neck to neck. And we got some of the best things that we could see on wrestling on both platforms. DC, I'm talking to you. This is what I need from you. I need you to rekindle that memory that I had of them, WCW and WWF, WWE, WWF, it doesn't matter, going at each other, and we had good content. I want James Gunn, and if you guys can make good content so we can go back and forth where we can just sit back and enjoy both versions of your storytelling from DC and Marvel. That's what I'm looking forward to, and I'm hyped up.
This concludes this episode of the Nerd World Order broadcast. So until next time, ladies, gentlemen, and knights of the Nerd World Order, I am NWO.
We are NWO.
Nerds Redefined. Booyah!